Welcome to Flow Speak Studio, where English flows naturally. Let's start speaking with confidence.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Flow Speak Studio. I'm Emma.
And I'm Alex, and today's episode feels very close to our hearts, honestly.
It really does, because today we're talking about something that sounds almost rebellious when you're learning a language. We're talking about how we practice English without studying. And before anyone panics, no, we're not saying studying is bad, but we are saying that real English doesn't live inside textbooks. It lives inside your life.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people listening right now are tired. Not tired of English itself, but tired of how they've been told to learn it. Tired of schedules, tired of feeling guilty for not studying, tired of thinking if I don't open a book today, I'm failing. And that pressure can actually push English further away.
Exactly. And the truth is, most of my English improvement didn't come from sitting at a desk. It came from moments I didn't even label as practice. Moments like talking to myself while cooking, watching something and not pausing every 5 seconds, thinking in English for just a few seconds during the day. Those moments felt small, but they added up.
Same here. And what's interesting is that when you remove the word study, English suddenly feels lighter. It becomes something you use, not something you prepare for. And that's what we want this episode to feel like a relief, a permission slip. You don't need to do more, you just need to notice what's already happening.
So if you're listening and thinking, I don't study enough or I should be doing more, we want you to relax a little today. Just a little. Because English might already be part of your life in ways you haven't recognized yet. And that's what we're exploring together in this episode.
You know, Emma, when I think about how I actually practice English, the first thing that comes to my mind is how unintentional it often is. It's not like I wake up and say, today I will practice English for 30 minutes. Most days it just happens. For example, in the morning when I'm making coffee, I catch myself thinking, okay, I need to hurry, but in English. Not because I'm forcing it, it's just the first phrase that appears. And at first, that surprised me. I remember thinking, wait, when did this start? And that moment made me realize something important. English had slowly entered my daily routine without asking for permission.
I love that you said that without asking for permission, because that's exactly how it feels. English doesn't knock on the door politely, it just slips in when you're not watching. For me, it started with really small things too, like reacting emotionally in English. You know those moments when something goes wrong and you say, oh no, or come on. Those reactions weren't planned, they were automatic. And I remember noticing that my emotional English appeared before my correct English. That was such a big realization. It showed me that language is connected to feelings much more than rules.
Yeah, and that's something people don't talk about enough. We think fluency starts with grammar, but honestly, I think it starts with emotion. When you react in English, when you complain, when you get excited, when you feel tired, that's real practice, and it happens in seconds, many times a day. I used to believe that those moments didn't count because they were short, but now I see them differently. Those short moments are actually the most powerful because they're natural.
Exactly. And what I find interesting is that when learners hear the word practice, they imagine effort, discipline, maybe even stress. But real life practice often feels light, almost invisible. For example, sometimes I describe what I'm doing in my head, not out loud, just internally. I'm looking for my keys. I should leave in 5 minutes. This is taking longer than I expected. None of that feels like studying. But over time, it builds something very important: flow, the ability to move from thought to language without panic.
And that flow is what people are really searching for, even if they don't realize it. They're not trying to memorize more words, they're trying to feel calm when English appears. I remember a time when I was waiting in line at a store and I started imagining a possible conversation with the cashier in English. Not because I was afraid, but because my brain was curious. It felt playful, like a mental rehearsal, but without pressure. That moment stayed with me because it showed me that practice doesn't have to feel heavy to be effective.
Yes, and I think that's an important shift from forcing English to inviting English. When you invite English into your daily life, into your thoughts, reactions, and small routines, it stays longer. It becomes familiar, safe. And maybe the most beautiful part is that you don't need extra time for this kind of practice. You're already living your life. You're already thinking, reacting, feeling. All you're doing is gently allowing English to be there too.
Exactly. No timer, no notebook, no pressure. Just life with a little more English inside it.
You know, Alex, even though we're talking about practicing English without studying, I think we have to be very honest about something. For many learners, this idea sounds comforting at first, but then almost immediately another voice appears. That voice that says, yeah, but is this really enough? And that voice can be surprisingly loud. I remember so many moments when I would go through my day using English naturally, thinking in English, listening, reacting, and still, at night, I'd feel guilty, like I had skipped something important, like I had cheated the process.
Yes, that guilt is very real, and it's so deeply connected to how we were taught to learn. I've noticed that many of us carry this invisible rule. If it doesn't feel hard, it doesn't count. So when English feels light or natural, our brain says, wait, this can't be real practice. I remember sitting on the couch watching a show in English, fully engaged, understanding the story, and still thinking, I should be studying instead. That inner conflict takes away so much joy.
Exactly. It's like we don't trust ourselves unless we're uncomfortable. And that pressure creates another problem. We start measuring progress in the wrong way. We ask questions like, how many hours did I study? Instead of, how present was I with the language today? I've had days where I studied grammar for an hour and felt disconnected, and other days where I didn't study at all, but English followed me everywhere. Those second days were actually much more powerful, emotionally and mentally.
And then there's fear. The fear that if we stop studying the traditional way, our English will get worse, like it will disappear. I used to think, if I don't push myself, I'll forget everything. But over time, I realized something important. Language doesn't disappear that easily, especially when you keep using it, even casually. The real danger isn't not studying. The real danger is disconnecting emotionally from English.
That's such an important point, because when English becomes only a task, we start avoiding it. We procrastinate, we feel tired before we even begin. And then the inner dialogue gets harsher. I'm lazy, I'm not disciplined, other people are better than me. Those thoughts don't help us improve, they freeze us. I've learned that being kind to myself actually helped my English more than being strict ever did.
Yes, and I think many listeners will recognize this moment. You want to practice, but you don't know how, and you're afraid of choosing the wrong way. So you do nothing. And then the guilt grows even bigger. What helped me was redefining what practice means. Practice isn't preparation for life. Practice is life. Every small interaction, every thought, every reaction counts. Once I accepted that, the pressure slowly softened.
And if you're listening right now and thinking, this is me, I feel this pressure, please know you're not alone. You're not failing, you're not behind. You're just learning in a system that often forgets we're human. English isn't something you need to conquer, it's something you build a relationship with. And relationships grow better with patience than with force.
Exactly. And in the next block, we're going to talk about something very practical, how this idea shows up in real life, at work, with friends, while traveling, and how you can trust these moments as real practice.
Let's make this very real now, because when we talk about using English naturally, it can sound abstract, like something you should be doing but don't know where to place in your day. So instead of adding more tasks, let's talk about moments that already exist in your life. Moments you don't need to create, you just need to notice them.
Exactly. Think about your mornings first. You wake up, you check your phone, you scroll a little. What if, instead of switching to your native language, you simply let your phone stay in English? You're not studying, you're not memorizing. You're just reading headlines, notifications, messages, the same things you already read every day. That's exposure, that's repetition, that's real practice.
And it doesn't stop there. When you're getting ready, showering, making coffee, choosing clothes, your mind is already talking. That inner voice, try letting it speak in English. Not perfectly, not beautifully, just honestly. I'm tired today. I need to hurry. This coffee smells good. These are simple sentences, but they connect English to your body, your senses, your real life. And that connection is powerful.
Another moment people underestimate is waiting. Waiting in traffic, waiting in a line, waiting for someone to reply. Those moments are usually filled with distraction or impatience, but they're also quiet spaces where your mind is free. Instead of scrolling, you can replay a short conversation in English or imagine how you'd explain your day to someone. No pressure, no correction, just flow.
And let's talk about work or daily responsibilities. If you work in an environment where English appears, emails, systems, meetings, you don't need to do more. You just need to be more present. Before responding to a message, take 2 seconds and think, how would I say this clearly in English? Even if you later write it in your native language, that mental step still counts. You're training your brain quietly.
Travel is another great example. Not just traveling to another country, even planning a trip. Reading hotel reviews in English. Watching travel videos in English. Thinking about how you'd ask for directions, food, help. These imagined situations prepare you emotionally, and when the real moment comes, your brain says, I've been here before. That confidence doesn't come from textbooks, it comes from familiarity.
And here's something important. You don't need to do all of this every day. Some days, English will show up naturally. Other days, it won't. That's okay. Consistency doesn't mean intensity. It means staying connected, even lightly.
So if you remember one thing from this block, let it be this. Don't ask, how can I add English to my life? Ask, where is English already touching my life? Once you see those moments, practice stops feeling like work and starts feeling like part of who you are.
Now, let's slow down a little and focus on some key phrases you heard today. These are not study phrases. They're real expressions people use when talking about daily habits and natural practice. We'll explain them simply, with examples you can imagine using in your own life.
When something fits into your day, it means it feels natural and easy, not forced. You don't need to change your schedule to do it. Example, listening to English podcasts fits into my day when I'm driving. This phrase is very useful when talking about habits, routines, or lifestyle.
This phrase means doing something in a relaxed way, without stress or expectations. It's especially important when talking about learning, work, or personal growth. Example, I practice English without adding pressure. I just use it when I can. Notice how calm this sounds. That's exactly the feeling it describes.
We use this phrase to say something is already part of your life. You don't need to create it. Example, the habit already exists. I just changed the language. This is powerful because it shifts your mindset from doing more to using what's there.
Your inner voice is the way you talk to yourself in your head. Talking about your inner voice in English helps connect the language to your thoughts. Example, I try to use English in my inner voice while I'm getting ready. This phrase feels personal and very natural in conversation.
To stay connected means to keep a relationship or habit alive, even in small ways. Example, even on busy days, I try to stay connected to English. This phrase is common when talking about learning, people, and routines.
You don't need to memorize these phrases. Just notice them, hear them again, and when the moment feels right, let them come out naturally. That's how real English grows. As we come to the end of this episode, I want to take a moment to breathe with you. Because today wasn't about doing more. It wasn't about pushing harder or finding extra time in an already full day. It was about realizing something much softer and much more encouraging. English doesn't always grow when you sit down to study. Sometimes it grows quietly in the background of your life.
Yeah, and I think that realization changes everything. So many people feel tired before they even start because they believe learning English always has to feel like effort, like something serious, like something heavy.
But what we talked about today shows a different reality. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need long sessions. You don't even need to feel motivated every day. You just need small moments of connection.
And those moments already exist in your life. They're in your mornings, in your walks, in your music, in your thoughts while doing simple things. When you invite English into those moments, gently, naturally, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing the language, and instead, it starts walking with you.
If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. You are not behind. You are not failing, and you are not doing it wrong. You are learning in a human way. Every small habit, every tiny exposure, every quiet moment where English is present, it all counts, even when it doesn't feel impressive.
So tonight or tomorrow, don't ask yourself, what should I study? Instead, ask, where can English gently fit into my day? No pressure, no judgment, just curiosity. That's where real progress begins.
Thank you for spending this time with us, for listening, for reflecting, for allowing English to be part of your real life, not just a goal. We'll be here continuing this journey with you.
Take care of yourself, trust your process, and remember, you're learning more than you think.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment down below.